Hi everyone. This is a video about roundabouts, how you can model entries and exits, especially when it is a multi-lane roundabout, because you usually have a lot of conflicting movements and issues. So first, let's look at Google Earth, where I show a very strange roundabout. It is in the beautiful city of Birmingham. And as you can see, there are no lane markings, or they are gone. You can still see a few here and there. But what you can see is that there are some arrows that should show which one you should take. So basically what you need to do whenever you model a roundabout a Vissim is that you need to have a look first on the street how people use it. Because there is this roundabout, for example, but if I go to, um, for example, these ones, for example, this one, this is a two-lane roundabout again, but it's a bit, for example, here there are no lane markings, and here. So you have a two-lane access, but also it's a two-lane coming. And here basically it's two-lane, two-lane. So if vehicles come here in both lane want to exit, but if vehicles come here and probably only one will exit. So this is a very difficult situation as you need to make a lot of routing decisions. But let's go back to the original one. What's this? So first is just to try to understand what happens. And also when you look at Google Earth, for example, it is very helpful to see that, for example, here it is a 3-lane wide roundabout, but this part is not used. The same here, that vehicles don't use that. So you need to try to put some kind of spiral markings in the roundabout, even if there is no spiral marking. Let's just try to put the little guy there. So it's a proper 2-lane exit, and here it's not really used for anything. You can see the gravel basically, that is no one is going there. So basically two vehicles can go there. Yeah. So if you come in here, for example, you go out here, if you go straight, or if you turn left, you go to here or here, or from this one, you definitely go and drive into the middle, and then you will come out. Then you will need to change lanes. So you need to make sure that when you code these, you add connectors inside. If you use matrices, if you use static routing, probably you shouldn't be, because or you need to use some kind of conflict area, but I think that would work very badly. So what you want to do is you probably want to have just a connector, and for the connector you add a little bit of longer emergency distance, but you need to make sure that that emergency distance is not too long, because then you might have issues on a from another approach, that you can't have an emergency lane changing distance like up here, because here that might cause issues. Of course, if it doesn't cause issues, just do that. So let's just go back to Vissim and have an example. So here we have, let me just add a few vehicles. Okay, and the route from there to there. So if I run the model now, there will be no issues. There will be no issues because vehicles will just do that. So I'm not going to worry about now the conflicts and the reduced paid areas and so on. But what if vehicle go there as well? So if I have this and I add that exit as well, that exit. What will happen, or what could happen, is when vehicles arrive, okay, let's put a little bit more. Because they will need to change lanes, and when they will change lane 200 meters um, upstream, because the lane changing distance here is 200 meters, but of course there is no 200 meters. So if the traffic is very busy, so let's just keep, let me just increase it more. No, even more. Okay, I just wanted to create some issues. So this, so what happens is vehicles come, but since they get their route here, there is, there is no 200 meters, and if it is a busy lane, they can't change lanes. For example, like that blue one. Okay, it can change because it slows down and exits. But how can you solve this problem? So I would always go, and instead of having like two connectors here, what you can do is you make these connectors as short as possible, and you create overlapping connectors like this. And what you do is when you go to the static routing, or if you use matrices, then you use edge closures. And so this one, you don't allow them to use these both lanes. You place an intermediate link, sorry, this point, and you put onto that one. You move this back, and vehicles will get in lane before they get into the roundabout. Of course, in real life, you have a longer approach, so it's more realistic, and you don't have this many vehicles turning in this way. This is one solution to this one, but you still have this issue. So in that case, both vehicle will go. But with this, if you have your routing like here, with this you can avoid a situation where someone drives straight and doesn't go out. So you need to create these kind of rules for everyone. And even here, so for example, if you have, so if we have another two-lane exit approach here, like that, and I just move this a little bit down. Here, and there is another exit. Okay, it's a strange roundabout this way, but you will get the point. Yeah, so if you have it like this, what you can also do, so if you want to achieve something like here, because if you have a two-lane exit and you have three, okay, this is a three-lane roundabout, but in most of the cases, there can be, so vehicles can drive in a way that there is realistically an extra lane. It's maybe not marked, but if you look at the video, there might be like free lane. And in that case, what happens? You can split the link here. If you see vehicles driving that way, you split the link. And here, instead of doing that, you convert this into a single lane exit and move it out there. So this way only that link or that lane or connector will be available. So this is the way you do it when you have something like this. So you have 3 lane, okay, not 3 lanes, but assuming it's a 2 lane roundabout, then that is the way you can do it. So 2 lane will go out and 1 will carry on. If you have 3 lanes, of course, it can be like that this is 3 lane and that way. And this is also a double like that. Let me undo it. If you don't have such, so if vehicles actually drive in a way that, like I showed you here, that is basically 2 lane that way, 2 lane that way. You just basically need to live with it. So you just leave the 2 lane exit like that, because I saw accidents here. So accidents happen, the same in Vissim. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to put this exit on red. I mean, because it would just cause issues. It would be a very buggy intersection. So you just want to go with that and just assume that they will drive through each other. If you don't have a lot of traffic, it might be fine to use this or to just do something. But unfortunately, sometimes you just need to do it that way. You always need to go out and have a look how the roundabout actually works. And in situations like this, you just need to do it. However, it's also when you do these accesses, you can reuse the issues you have by using connectors like that. And not just like that. So you can also use a third set like that. Sorry. So you have one, two, and the third one got lost. So you have 3 connectors basically. One like there, one like here, and one double. And what you do, you just need to make sure that these are very short. Otherwise, you would have issues and you need to use difficult priority rules. And also, when you model a roundabout, you try to use priority rules and not conflicts. Conflicts will cause you so much headache. So, what you do in this case, you move this as far as you can, put these very close to that, and you place the priority rules on this link, like that. Of course, there are more priority rules. You check other videos, I show you how to place them. But you can place on this one and not on the connectors. So that way, whoever gets onto the connector need to obey this rule. And you only need to create one, not twice or 3 times. So like here, you would need to create once on this connector and once on that connector. And the point of doing this is when you have your routing. Let me just delete what I have. And so I create one. So I want a vehicle to go there. I want a vehicle to go there and want to go there. So what you can do is, okay, this is probably more realistic, is if this is a bit like that, like that. So then what you do, if you go out here, you place them there. If you go out here, you place them there. If you go out here, you place them into the double. And also what you can do, you can place like a fake connector like this. And if I move it up here, maybe here. So if you have a very complicated, like a big interchange, let's say like that one, or like this one, you know, 3-4 lane approaches, multiple lane exits, entries, widening, a lot going on. What you can do is you can place these, and when you do your, let me move this further up a little bit to make my point a bit more easy to understand. So this way, if you put that there, you can reduce the lane changing distance to, let's say, 20 meter or 30 or whatever that, you will need to test it and find out what is the best. In that case, instead of doing this, you put an intermediate point and you can drag it onto that one. And so this way, you can initiate a lane change where you want to. So if you say that for this connector, the lane changing distance is, let's say, 30 meters, then you measure it back from there, that they will start changing lanes there. But you probably want to do it like here. So you set the lane changing distance to this distance. And also for this, you can leave it because it's a 2 lane, so it's not going to change lanes for that. But it will get into lane like that. So it will drive in this lane as they would do, let's say, in real life. Then they start changing lanes like here. So you can also reuse the issue there. And you can also place maybe one here too. Sorry. You can also place a fake connector like there to make sure that they they drive here in the inside and then they will change lanes. So you can do all of this. You can also have connectors like you can add like spiral markings like that. Just to be very careful with them. So you need to make sure that you place these like in location like this when you don't expect anyone to drive in this lane. Or you can play around with conflict like that, but it's not very nice. But sometimes it can be a very strange roundabout when such thing would work, especially more with matrices or dynamic assignment. You can control the edge with edge closures the way they drive. So you don't really want to use a lot of priority rules or conflicts for exits. You try to control vehicles with these kind of features or tips and tricks. And you can combine these and you want to combine these. And it can also be that maybe in this case, you set up a 3-lane section where they can actually go like I don't know, it looks very strange, but like this, and maybe here you can add the connector so you can force everyone to drive, or you can make it longer a bit like, okay, let me delete that. So for example, from here, you can actually move this a bit further back, up like there. So you can move this maybe like there into the third one and have a single connector or like a double even like this. Sorry, it's a bit of a mess. Let me just tidy it up a bit. So you can have it like here, because this way you can have vehicles driving into this lane if they need to with these little fake connectors or dummy connectors. But this way here, you can create these double ones so you can still have two lane movements through the roundabout. So I think you always need to understand first how the roundabout actually works. Um, so if we go back to this one, it just really, you just need to understand how it works. And it can also be that, from this lane you can go to the middle or go out to here. So in that case, if you go to the middle, you go out here. If you go to the far side lane, then you will go out there. So in that case, you can have multiple connectors like here instead of um, so it's a bad example, but if you have it like that, you maybe can't have like a two-lane approach because maybe this lane is only available for right turners. So in that case, you just put one there, and you can also put from one lane one into the middle like that, while it is a double one. So you can put this double to this one. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to have want to have it like this and assign both for this exit, because if you do that, this will be a route choice. If you use dynamic assignment, it will cause you a horrible headache. So you always want to make sure that whatever lane is available, if there are two or three lanes available for the same movement, you don't want to split them into one or twos. You always want to have all lanes as one on one connector, because otherwise the route choice will be a pain and you can't assign either the split. So it's if you use static routing, like, okay, so I just made a mess now. So if you use static routing, you see you can't have both, or you would need to duplicate it. But if you do that, then what's the split between these two? Again, it can be a genuine thing that maybe only 10% drives in this lane and you can model it that way. And you can do the same with edge closure in dynamic assignment, and you can increase the attractiveness of any of these connectors. But what you want to do is I think in most of the cases to do this for this movement like that, and not like with separate ones. I know it was long and boring, but I hope some of the features I showed helped you to understand of these solutions or these tools you can use to model a roundabout. It can be a complicated one. The reason I didn't want to take an example is because every country is different, and it can be that vehicle drive differently, because if you see here there are no arrows, so it might be a local thing how vehicles drive, and you want to capture that in your model. And I don't know how they drive in this one, especially if you look at here, there are no arrows either. So you first need to understand how it works, and then the tools I showed you can be useful to get the model together. So thanks for watching. I don't dwell it longer. So see you next time.